It seems pretty clear, at least to me, that the upcoming Supergirl movie is taking so much inspiration from Guardians of the Galaxy that it stopped feeling like it was inspired by and feeling more like it's an imitation of those movies, which is a real shame because I don't think there is a single movie out there that is better set up to completely change the way that trends work in sci-fi, and it could be one of those landmark movies that completely changes the conversation forevermore. Let's go ahead and talk about that. That was a big statement. That was bold. I'm excited to dig into that. It's no secret that Supergirl the movie is going to be based off of Woman of Tomorrow. I don't think there has ever been a theatrical movie, especially not a live-action superhero movie, that was strictly based off of a storyline in a book. I mean, sometimes we'll go ahead and we'll get stuff from the book, but it's put into a completely different context. Or they'll even just take the title of a book and apply it to a completely different story. But the fact that they are adapting this story pretty much as it appears, with only very minor changes, that's really significant. The context of the book, if you've seen the trailer for the movie, you kind of get what the book is. This young girl, her father is unjustly murdered by some murder hobo, and she commissioned Supergirl to go after the guy and help her avenge the murder of her father. Along the way, the pair of them, they meet different people, they meet allies, they meet enemies, they go to really cool and really distinct and really visually stunning locations throughout the galaxy as they're chasing after this guy. And no matter the location that they are in, Supergirl always stands out. She is always easy to spot and always very visually at the forefront of wherever you're at. And the effects are just absolutely gorgeous, you know? It's not like they take the same lightning effects and recolor them every page. There's swirls, there's splotches, there's jagged edges. Every single page here can be used as a masterclass in just artistic storytelling. It's really, really interesting, really well done. Woman of Tomorrow set up a lot of different trends. And it's easy to do that because in comic books, you know, the cost of bringing a dinosaur to life and having it eat your main character is this same cost as having your main character eat a taco. You know, like it costs the same, which means that trends can really shift and expand, and experiments can be done very, very quickly in comic books. Movies have to go a little bit slower. But you can still see trends in movies, and this is something that I'm just endlessly interested in, especially when it comes to sci-fi. Because sci-fi, especially space travel sci-fi, has had very distinct trends, but there are also trends that you can trace through history, right? Like you can see how the past trend influenced the upcoming trend, and it's really fantastic. You go back to the beginning of it, back to 1902, it's the first narrative film, or at least we're pretty sure it's the first narrative film. Journey to the Moon. It's this old French movie where a bunch of magicians shoot a cannon, and inside the cannon was like this bullet, and it was carrying all kinds of people to the moon. And when they get there, they find this ancient civilization that is kind of strange but also kind of familiar at the same time, and then everyone goes back home. Very simple, very basic, but it set up the building blocks. After that, we get into the pulp era, roundabouts the 1920s and 30s, where heroes and characters like Flash Gordon would go to these planets that had kind of a Greco-Roman type vibe to them. Eventually this turned into something like Star Trek in the 1960s, where everything is like beyond nuclear power. We've accepted that technology is going to keep moving, so we've moved past nuclear power, and now all of the civilizations are just kind of like kit bashes of what we have on Earth. And then you have Star Wars, where we decided, you know, space actually isn't new. It's old. It's been around for a while, and it has its own lore and history to it. And so things stopped being clean. It started being greasy. It started being grimy. You look at the Millennium Falcon, compare it to the USS Enterprise. Everything is gross, and it's like, ugh. But that's changed how sci-fi was seen. And eventually that turned into Guardians of the Galaxy, where we have the same kind of griminess that we were seeing in Star Wars, but they added in a lot of the mysticism that we were seeing in other places in Marvel Comics, because that was the trend of the time, or Marvel movies anyway. And then they added a lot of nostalgic elements, like they made space feel familiar by not just making it feel lived in, but also adding in our own culture. They, rather than kid bashing it into a different civilization, they just made space culture ours. But now that that kind of trend has been going on for a while, from what I'm seeing, everything is set up within the trends of sci-fi, the trends of pop culture, and the trends of comic books to really set up Supergirl to be doing something really, really special and new and unique with the topic of spacefaring sci-fi. It's been noted that people are getting tired of the same kind of aesthetic. We've seen the nostalgia-fueled grimy spaceship. We've seen nanobots. We've seen weird mysticism. We've seen all of that. And we've seen it combined in some ways. But it's kind of run its course a little bit. It's way familiar to the point where it's too familiar. At the same time, we have the DC movies that they're expanding. It's new, it's different. Nothing has been fully decided yet, and that's exciting. So you combine the fact that people are looking for something different in their movies and the overall excitement for a Supergirl movie. This is a new kind of thing we haven't seen in a very, very long time. With the kind of choices and the kind of directions and trends that the book sets up, and I don't think there is a better movie out there set to change everything about sci-fi. It seems so obvious, which is why it's so frustrating that they're not doing it. Even if it's not a fully conscious decision, the fact that Supergirl seems to be taking so much from the current sci-fi trends, which is Guardians of the Galaxy, just copying Guardians of the Galaxy, it's not just a detriment to the look of the movie, it's a detriment to the characterization of Supergirl herself. Her character design for a large chunk of the trailer, and based on how much happens in the trailer under this costume, it feels like it's going to be a big chunk of the movie as well. She's wearing a graphic t-shirt, jeans, and a trench coat. Now the trench coat is part of the actual book itself. But here's the difference. In the book, she is never outside of the Supergirl costume. So that means no matter where she's at, either the bright blue, the bright red, or the bright yellow is going to stand out somewhere. This means that no matter where she's at, anywhere, no matter what the setting, she pops. She's instantly recognizable and she's instantly interesting. At least interesting to look at. But they gave up her biggest advantage in aesthetics so they could have her cosplay Star-Lord. And she's not even cosplaying Star-Lord well. She's cosplaying Star-Lord badly. And see, here's the thing though. He always has at least one big color pop that is keeping him out of the environment and making him look like an alive, living, breathing thing within the movie. The other Guardians, as far as character design, all are doing the right thing. One of them's a raccoon, one of them's a giant tree, one of them is bright green, and another one is a paler green, sure, but he has bright red tattoos. They all look very distinct and very individual. It's hard to lose track of them. Which means that they can go ahead and do whatever they want with the backgrounds. They can be as creative as they want with the sets, because they don't have to consider, well, what if the character gets lost in it? There's no way they can. Supergirl doesn't get that in this trailer, which is a real shame. She blends into the background way too easily, and it's unfortunate that they have that when the book never had that problem, and the book gave the answer on how to not have that problem. Now, I get wanting to have a costume change. I've worked a lot in different movie art departments, and I've done a bit of character design, and I've done a bit of costume design. So that's where I'm coming from with all of this. I get that you want to have a costume change. Having a costume change in your movie can signify an awful lot. It's a really, really cool science about it. But this breaks into another weird characterization problem that I'm noticing in the trailer and in everything we've seen about this movie, which is that her motivation doesn't seem to match her actions like at all. The big conflict of the book, and it looks like it's the conflict of the movie as well based off of the trailer, is that she really misses home. Supergirl, she grew up on Krypton. She can't go back. There is no way to go back to that, and she really misses her world, she misses her culture, she misses all of it. So if she's missing Krypton and its culture and its people so much, why is she listening to Earth music and wearing Earth clothes, especially when at the beginning of the trailer, Superman says that she's not acclimating to Earth very well. She looks like she is. She is listening to Blondie on an iPod. Like, this is someone who is adjusted to Earth really well. If you wanted to have a costume change, instead of going with the graphic t-shirt route, you know what would have been really cool? We have a wealth of different costumes from all across comic book history related to Krypton. There's a lot out there to pick. Pick something from that, and then you solve all kinds of problems. You get the different costume designs, which makes the writers happy, it makes the storytellers really happy, it makes the art people very, very happy when you can do that. It also could help Supergirl stand out from the background a little bit better, which makes actors happier, it makes directors happier, it makes cinematographers happier, it makes us film snobs a lot happier. That's great. It makes merchandising happier, you know, like if you gave Supergirl another unique outfit that is not necessarily a superhero thing, you know, you can make an action figure out of it. You can make toys and t-shirts out of that. Potentially, we've seen this happen before from movies. Potentially, it could influence fashion, like real world culture. So literally everybody wins. In fact, people who you didn't think would be benefiting from this, they win from this. But no, she had to raid Star-Lord's closet, and she didn't even take the good stuff. The music is also a weird choice. I remember when her first marketing was starting to get pushed, back when Superman was pretty much in theaters and having started its theater run. And I remember being a little bit bewildered by the fact that she was listening to so much Earth music. Especially now, my bewilderment has only gotten more now that I know a little bit more about what the movie's supposed to be about. She's listening to out-of-date 1980s hits on an out-of-date iPod with even more out-of-date headphones. But the math says she probably has only been on Earth for maybe like a year, maybe two, and she's listening and like, how did she get the iPod? Oh, it's not her iPod. Oh my goodness. No, that's Superman's iPod. Like, Superman's the same age as me. I grew up with an iPod. He grew up with an iPod. That is Superman's iPod. He was the one who's jamming to Blondie. Huh. Okay, now what? There, go. Okay, points for connected universe. That is really cool. That is a cool detail. Oh, where is it? Where is it? Hey, Kara, have you seen my iPod? Nope. What you got there? My iPod? That's my iPod. No, it's mine. Kara, I have super hearing. I can hear the song. That's my song on my iPod. I don't know what to tell you, Cal. Your dumb Earth brain must be malfunctioning. This is my iPod. But it's clearly not. Yeah, well, I've got YouTube music, whatever. So fun facts to wrap all of this up. I hate this book. Like, I legitimately just do not like it. Like, there's so much about this book that I don't like. And I wasn't sold on the trailer either. So I'm not convinced by the movie. But whether or not the movie is good isn't the point that I'm trying to make. Whether or not I like the movie isn't the point I'm trying to make. The point I'm trying to make here is that Supergirl is at the center of a whole bunch of different trends changing. It's easy to see, and they didn't go for it, which is a real problem. Especially when, like, you know, if Supergirl's not going to go for this big jump in trend to change how everything looks, to change how everything vibes, to change how sci-fi is going to be seen in the future, get away from the Guardians of the Galaxy stuff. If Supergirl's not going to do it, and we know that Lanterns is taking mostly on Earth, then it doesn't look like DC is going to be able to hold on to that trend, which is a real shame and a real problem that you have to consider if you're building a cinematic universe. Marvel, they were there at the beginning of a lot of trends, and they were able to hold on to a lot. Multimedia theory. This is a whole brand new study in media and sociology, is multimedia theory, where TV shows cross into movies and books and all of it connects. And even if Marvel wasn't the first, they were the ones who did it the best for a very long time. And then Guardians of the Galaxy, we've been talking about it this whole video. It owned the sci-fi trend. It created what sci-fi was supposed to look like for forevermore, or at least until the next Guard. And if DC can't make Supergirl do that, and they can't make Lanterns do it, then something else is going to have to come up, and DC is going to lose that very, very important cultural foothold. Now, things can still change. You know, we still have a couple of months until the movie releases. Maybe the movie will release and it will surprise all of us, and it will surprise me, and I'll be completely wrong, and this video here will have dated itself and aged very, very poorly. That would be nice, honestly. I'd be okay with that. But even then, if they don't change things like the coloring or editing in this video, you know, it doesn't mean things can't change later. Nothing's ever set in stone. But time is running out. And sooner than later, some other franchise, some other movie, or a TV show, or something is going to come along and take this opportunity to create the new trend, and it's going to be one of those tentpole things that we're going to talk about for years to come, in the same breath as Star Trek and Star Wars. And I just can't shake the feeling that it could have been Supergirl. But like I said, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe the movie will release and it will surprise everybody. But I want to know what you think. Do you think I'm completely wrong here? Or do you think that there is an opportunity for new trends here? Go ahead and put it in the comments below, and until next time. Thank you for joining me. Have a great day. Remember to always be your best self.